Good evening, my dear students. Here again is Computer Wunsam, and I will show you today how to do very magical things with colors. So, as we've said, GIMP is an image manipulation tool, and we already know about the typical tools like the paintbrush tool or the eraser. The paintbrush tool, by the way, has some specific different possibilities like a pencil, airbrush, or using ink. All of them have different properties we can use for our paintings, and this is something we can try a little bit later too, or you can try it by yourself. For the moment, I will show you again what the color picker tool is capable of. By clicking on the color picker tool and selecting any color like this yellow, we can get the specific color which we have needed here. We can do this with every single thing we have here. For instance, here we have some sort of less bright cyan, and here we have a very intense greenish cyan. Or if we use our bear nose, then we get a very brownish tone, or a darkish black. You can use the color picker tool for anything you want. So let's pick a color which we can use a little bit later now. For instance, the beak here. We will use this orange for our cases later. But if we are talking about colors, we need to talk about colors in the status bar. This status bar has a plethora of different tools we can use for any color scheme. We can use anything we want here and change the color of our pictures. Let's start with the invert. We have three possible differences in invert. If you know what invert in selection means, it means that we will select anything but which is selected. Invert in colors is a little bit different. Invert changes the colors into the opposite, more or less. For instance, if we are here, if we press invert, everything which is yellow will become blue. Everything which is cyan will become red. And everything which is usually this darkish brown will become a very bright whitish cyan. The reason for this is very simple. If we have a color, for instance, which is yellow, then we can see, for instance, that the color yellow consists of red and green in this case, because if I raise it in the maximum, you can see that you will get yellow. The opposite color has actually the perfect number in inverse. So if we select the blue color now, you can see that red and green are very low, but blue is intense. The reason for this is quite simple, because we inverted the color. If we invert it, then it means that every high value will be a low value. It is for everything which we can choose here. However, I will undo this again to show the other forms of inversion. Here's the linear invert. This means that everything which is dark becomes bright and vice versa. So if we have something yellow which is quite bright, it will be much darker in comparison, and if we have something more darkish red, then you can see the bear will be totally white. And the third form of inversion is just a value invert. This means that everything which is bright will be dark, and everything which is dark will be bright. These aren't the only things which we can change with colors, in fact. There are some more amazing tools which we can use to change the colors too. These are here in colors. Let's start with hue chroma. Hue chroma and lightness is in fact an interesting tool, because we have the possibility to change the color very simply by choosing a new type of hue. For instance, if we go to the left here, you can see that it will be frozen blue. But if we go more in the middle from there, you will see that it will get a reddish tone. The reason for this is that the hue selects a specific tone spectrum, color tone spectrum to be more precise, and changes the color just based on this. It's the same point for the chroma in this case. However, the chroma doesn't change the color spectrum. Let's change the color at first via the hue. The chroma increases or decreases the intensity of the color. As you can see, if I decrease the color to the minimum, you can see that the chroma is just very small and everything here is gray. However, if I increase it, then you can see that the intensity of the color increases to the maximum. It is usually a little bit better to just increase it a little bit slightly, but we can change this even higher or not so high. The third point I will going to show you is the lightness. And this is quite self-explanatory. The lighter it is or the darker it is, the more the picture looks like it. So let's say if we go to 62 with our lightness, then it's very high. If we go to -47, then it's very low. And we can try to get the perfect picture this way too. There are many ways to change the pictures this way, and you should try them by yourself. However, these aren't the only ways. We also can change the shadows and the highlights. There are also some other tools like changing the hue, the lightness and the saturation. It is technically the same like the tool with hue and chroma, except that you can choose now a specific color which you can change. If I only want to change the yellow color, you can see that only the rubber duck will be changed. Let's say we will change the cyan color into red. This looks a little bit scary, but we also have the possibility to invert this exactly. This means that only the red and the cyan colors will be changed. As before, you can change the lightness in this case, and if you want to change everything, you can just press the master. Okay, there are so many different ways to change the colors, but one specific way I want to show you too. This is by using the so-called shadows and highlights. Oh, I will use this picture again. Colors, shadows and highlights. By increasing the shadows, you can see that every dark place will be lightened, and it is the same if I go to the left, which means that the shadows will be increased. I can also increase or decrease the color adjustment, but usually this is enough. It is the same for the highlights. The only difference is that the highlights make usual bright things even brighter, and we are also capable of making them darker if we want. And we also can make a color adjustment by adding or decreasing the white value. Okay. The last thing I'm going to show you is again the Colorize tool. You already know it from a former video, but you are also capable of changing the color this way. Let's use the color we have selected before. Just copy the HTML notation and add it here into the color. And you can see that we can color the picture the way we want. There are so many different ways to change the color for your picture. You really should try every single way here. In the end, I will show you the brightness and the contrast too. Contrast means that colors which aren't too intense will get more intense or less intense. And brightness is again self-explanatory. The more brightness it has, the brighter the picture. As you can see, we had 4 different pictures and all of them has been changed via the color tool as much as we want. Just to be sure, you also can choose a specific configuration for your own color tool, which you can change to only select a specific part of the picture. This also works this way, and you also can use any color tool you want this way. And again, just to undo it, press Ctrl+C. if you want, you can even experiment much more by trying out all of these color tools, anything you want. But until then, I am very glad that you have tried these color tools, and you will try them. And I can't wait to see your beautiful next videos. Yours sincerely, Computer Wundersamt.